There is a solution for that is sponsored by VARC Solutions. VARC Solutions helps small businesses succeed by delivering expert QuickBooks bookkeeping, consulting, quick-based development, and integrated solutions. If you own a small to medium-sized business that uses QuickBooks or QuickBase, the experts at VARC Solutions can help. In business since 1999, with people who care and the knowledge and experience to solve your toughest problems. Visit varcsolutions.com for all your QuickBooks needs. Welcome back to another edition of There's a Solution for That, where we help small businesses succeed by discussing challenging business problems and best-in-class solutions. All right, welcome everybody to today's Lunch and Learn. We have a really good topic, something that I actually, quite frankly, get asked about pretty frequently when I'm out and about talking to people, when I'm at a coffee shop and people are, it's like, what do you do? What do you do? Invariably, the topic of like what accounting software, should people be using comes up. And it's always a little bit surprising to me that there's a lot of people out there that are using Excel, at least when they get started, trying to use Excel for accounting. And so I like to have that conversation about like why Excel is good and maybe some of the pros and cons, and then also what are some of the alternatives to Excel for an accounting system. And that's ultimately what led to this topic today. We go to Small Business Expo and we talk to people and we like, hey, what accounting system are you using? And a lot of times, again, it's Excel. So that's kind of the context for the call today, for the Lunch and Learn. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll also do a poll here at the very beginning to help us get started. You should be able to see my slides right now. And so today's topic, alternatives to Excel for small business accounting. So we're going to actually talk about Excel, and then we'll kind of talk about the alternatives today. So first thing is just the agenda. So we are going to talk about some pros and cons. When should you use Excel? What is it really good for? And then maybe some of the reasons why you shouldn't use it. And then I want to give you a big picture overview of the Intuit QuickBooks offerings so that you're aware of what else is out there, and also some of the price points too, because that's obviously important for a lot of businesses. How much does that kind of stuff cost? First thing I want to do though is I'm going to stop the sharing, and I'm going to do a poll to ask you, what are you currently using for accounting? So let me turn off the sharing, and I'm going to load up a poll here real quick. And just wanted to kind of get your feedback. So I'm going to launch this poll. You should be able to see it on your screen right now. Go ahead and answer for me what you are currently using for accounting, and we'll kind of go from there. Give you a little bit of time to think about that and answer that question. Okay. All right. Waiting for one more answer. There's somebody out there that hasn't answered. Let's see if they can answer that real quick. All right, interesting. So the results are a little bit mixed. So believe it or not, some of you are using QuickBooks and some of you are using something else. Now, interestingly, you didn't say necessarily that you were using Excel, but there's something else that you're using, okay? Which is, again, that's totally fine. Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm going to go back to my slides, and let's talk about Excel as an option. And then we'll also talk about, again, some of the pros and cons and alternatives that you have as well. Okay, so first off, let's talk about some of the reasons why you might use Excel to do an accounting type of thing. I would say the most common example that I see is folks using Excel for just what I would call just a basic ledger. Okay. You're going out spending money and you want to have a place to put, how much you're spending. Okay. And yes, you can also categorize. I mean, if you had an account, you could have an account column and say, is this rent? Is this meals? Is this travel? Is this mileage? So you can do some of that kind of stuff. Our daughters are actually, one of my daughters actually is planning a wedding right now. And we're using Excel just to keep track of the money that we're spending on that wedding. So there's a lot of people and a lot of reasons why you might use Excel. First off, it's inexpensive. It's pretty simple to use, right? I can just get in and start typing some stuff. It's flexible. I can use it for wedding expense tracking. I can use it for, I can try to record like checkbook entries in there. I can do a lot of things with it, obviously. And of course, one of the powers of Excel is being able to do formulas. And you can get into some fancy stuff and do macros and pivot tables and all sorts of stuff. But just basic formulas, this plus this equals this. Summing everything in a row or summing everything in a column, pretty standard, pretty typical. I think actually one of the areas that Excel thrives is in its ability to take numeric data and chart and graph it. That's one of the just native capabilities. It's pretty really good, very, very good, that is. And of course, if you've got lots and lots of data, you can turn on the data filters. And quite frankly, I use that all the time, using the data filters to say, I only want to see some of the rows in this table or this sheet based on some filter or for some criteria. And that's very easy to do. And it's actually a very, very powerful feature. So I use it all the time. I don't use it for accounting necessarily, but I do use it for number crunching, taking stuff out of QuickBooks, sending it to Excel, and maybe doing some number crunching there. Do that all the time. Let's talk about some of the cons of Excel. One of the biggest problems with Excel is the fact that you can make formula errors. You can make mistakes. If you're trying to build a spreadsheet that takes this plus this and then multiplies that by something else, obviously the fancier you get, the more likely that there are going to be formula errors. And sometimes you won't even know that it's an error until somebody actually pulls out a real calculator and calculates the math and says, it's wrong. So that's something. Obviously, just kind of a real quick aside here, one of the funny things about AI is that sometimes it's really, really not good at math. I don't know if anybody's experienced that, but you ask it to add up some numbers and it makes up an answer. Excel doesn't make up answers, but it takes your formula that you've typed in and will calculate however you told it to do it. And sometimes you can make mistakes within your formulas. Okay. I'd say another con of Excel is it doesn't really automate recurring and routine tasks. Okay. Things like invoicing your clients, paying bills, doing payroll, taking out taxes and deductions, filing and doing W-2s and things like that at the end of the year. More basic things like reconciling your checkbook or reconciling your credit card. It won't do those. Obviously, I mean, maybe it's not so obvious, but Excel is not a financial and accounting system, right? So it's not something that you can just hit a button and have a profit and loss spit it out or run a balance sheet or any other financial statement. So it's not going to be able to do those recurring and very, very routine tasks within the accounting world. Now, the next point is it's a little nitty gritty. It's a little accounting speak, if you will, but Excel is not a real double entry accounting system. Double entry is just a fancy way of saying every transaction that you put into an accounting system needs to show up in two different places. There's always a source, like where the money's coming from, and a use, where that money is going, okay? And in a real accounting system, you would have something like money coming out of the checking account going into rent expense, for example. There's always going to be two sides, okay? If money goes into your bank account, where's the money coming from? That could be an income, it could be a deposit, lots of different reasons. But there's always two sides to every accounting transaction. In Excel, it's just a line and you just put some numbers. So it's not a true accounting system in that respect. And then finally, if you are moving from Excel, let's say you started with Excel and now you're trying to then move into a different accounting system, whether that's QuickBooks, Xero, or any other cloud accounting system, you're going to have to re-enter that data or take the totals and put those totals in the accounting system. So there's always going to be at least a migration if you're going from something to something else. And that's also true if you're starting out with Excel. Okay. All right. Let's talk real quickly about the Intuit offerings and just to kind of give you an overview, because quite frankly, there's a couple different versions of QuickBooks. There's also tiers within each version. And obviously, I'm just giving you the highlights here, but also want to give you some of the pricing as of today. So you kind of have a sense for that. But if you were just starting out in business and you said, "Hey, I want an accounting system. What should I start with?" Most likely, you're going to start with QuickBooks Online. It is cloud based. It is pretty easy to get up and running and get started using. The higher in the tiers that you get within QuickBooks Online, obviously there's more advanced features, advanced functionality, and it can get a little bit more complicated, obviously, if you're using some of those more robust features. But specifically for QuickBooks Online, there's three primary tiers. There's QuickBooks Online Essentials, QuickBooks Online Plus, and QuickBooks Online Advanced. Each one of those goes up in terms of number of users as well as some of the feature sets. But probably one of the easiest criteria to figure out like which one should I be using is on the number of users. If you don't need more than 3 users, you could probably get away with QuickBooks Online Essentials. Again, unless you needed some, let's just call it basic inventory, maybe a little bit better on the reporting side of things. If you needed some additional features and functionality, those are reasons why you might go up the ladder. If you need 4 or 5 users, you would have to have at least QuickBooks Online Plus. And if you wanted anywhere from 6 to 25 users, you would need to be on QuickBooks Online Advanced. One of the key differentiators for the higher tier, like the QuickBooks Online Advanced, is it does have better and more customizable roles and permissions. So if you've got a company where you have project managers, salespeople, not just accounting folks, in the QuickBooks Online, because maybe they're doing estimates, maybe they're doing purchasing for you, you want to be able to have roles defined to allow people to do certain things, but not other things. See the things that they need to see, but don't see the other things. And so roles and permissions is a more important topic as you have more people in the books. And then that QuickBooks Online Advanced can give you more of that granular permission and role clarity, right? And what people can and what they can't do. In terms of basic pricing, obviously it goes up from this, but if you just wanted QuickBooks Online Essentials, that starts out at $75 a month, and that's the retail price. One of the benefits of working with a company like VARC Solutions is we do get discounts. And so we can actually give you 30% discount for the entire first year. That's better than you can get if you were to call up Intuit and try to buy it yourself directly, or if you went to QuickBooks.com, same thing. We're going to save you money compared to what you would pay if you bought it yourself through Intuit. We are an Intuit reseller, and so that's one of the benefits that you have by going through us. But so that's the starting point. Let's also talk about the desktop version. We get a lot of questions about the desktop QuickBooks. People ask me all the time, is QuickBooks Desktop going away? Okay. And the short answer is no, it's not going away. Some of the lower tiers of QuickBooks Desktop have been discontinued in terms of sales. You can no longer buy what used to be known as QuickBooks Pro and Premier. But QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise is still alive, is still kicking, and you can still get it. In fact, it comes in 4 different flavors. There's silver, gold, platinum, and diamond. Everything from 1 user all the way up to 40 users. And with QuickBooks Desktop, there's actually quite a lot of advanced features and functionalities that you can get, especially as you move up the tiers. Advanced inventory capabilities, being able to do manufacturing, what I would call light manufacturing. Assemblies is a feature within QuickBooks Enterprise Desktop. You can also do things like fixed asset management, job profitability tracking. If you've got multiple entities, you can do consolidated reporting. And again, you can go up to 40 users. And in terms of pricing, it is more expensive than just QuickBooks Online Essentials. But for example, QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise Silver, that's a mouthful. I'm going to say that again. QuickBooks Enterprise Desktop Silver, 1 user starts at $1,703 per year. That's the retail price. But again, you can call VARC and we can give you get you a discount on that enterprise subscription. And then last but not least, just sort of the big picture here. I mentioned that Excel, which is what we're comparing to today, doesn't really have the basic accounting systems. It doesn't really have the ability to pay bills, reconcile accounts, do payroll, things like that. QuickBooks is intended to handle all of those basic accounting needs. But the question oftentimes becomes up when we talk to clients about what they need in an accounting system. A lot of times, clients will bring up, "Well, I needed to really do this manufacturing assembly process, or I really want to automate my CRM and email marketing as well, or I'm selling in 20 different states, and I just learned that I need to file sales tax returns in all these different states." There's going to be things that you're going to want the software to do that maybe it doesn't do out of the box. The good news is that Intuit has built an app ecosystem, just like your iPhone. You've got an iPhone app store, right? Well, there's an app ecosystem for Intuit and QuickBooks, so that if there's something you need it to do that it doesn't do natively, there are solutions out there. There's literally thousands of apps out there to do different things. At VARC Solutions, we have hand selected, we've vetted the top tier solutions in a couple of different criteria or categories. For example, for inventory, for payroll, for accounts payable automation, CRM, field service management, reporting, email marketing. We've got solutions for each one of those, and those solutions are, again, the best in class. So again, if you have a solution, you're like, I need QuickBooks to do this. Can it do that? We'll be honest with you and say yes or no, it can or can't, but we'll also be able to solve a problem for you too. We'll be able to say, here's what you should use for email marketing. Here's what you could be using for payroll if you didn't want to use QuickBooks Payroll, for example. Okay. And then for anything else, we have integrations that we can build using Zapier and Workato and Zaptiva. Those are integration platforms that will help QuickBooks connect with pretty much anything else out there that has an open API architecture. Okay, so that's really the long and short of what I wanted to share today. I do want to bring up this last slide and just basically say, hey, if you've got questions about any of this stuff, we are here for you. We can answer those questions live while we're on today's Lunch and Learn. If you want to put a question in the question panel, if you want to raise your hand, we can also unmute you and you can ask your question out loud. Also on the screen, I've listed a QR code there so that if you wanted to have a consultation about your specific scenario, what are you doing in your business? What are you needing from an accounting system? Do you need help with bookkeeping? What is your problem that you're experiencing that we can help you with? So again, this will be in the slides that we'll share with you as well. But if you have one of those questions, feel free and ask that. I'm going to pull up the last slide on the screen here, just to kind of give you our phone number. If you have any questions, you can always call us at 281-412-6914. We are QuickBooks experts. We know it inside and out. We can also help you as you scale in your business to go from small to medium to large. We've got solutions across every industry as well as every business size. And so you can also email us at team@varksolutions.com, and we will also be happy to help you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording as of this point and ask if there are any other questions before we end the webinar. And I'm trying to pull up the, okay, perfect. Let me just get 1 second here. Teresa, I see your hand. Just give me 1 second. I am trying to pull up the screen that allows me to. Like I can't find that darn stop recording button. Okay, anyways, we're going to keep going. Teresa, let me pull you up and let me unmute you if you want to ask your question out loud. Give me 1 second here. All right, Teresa, I've done the unmute. What's your question?
Yeah, actually, first of all, thank you for the information. So, actually, I'm more interested in the Intuit Enterprise Suite.
Oh,
I know
fantastic.
I know it's a little bit different as other QuickBook, the the software, right? So I'm more interested in that because I remember I saw the introduction somewhere,
Yes,
and I don't know if you can give us a really quick
I
introduction for
can.
that.
I can actually. Let me do that right now. Give me I'm gonna share my screen again. Okay, let me know if you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let me give you some of the big picture, and then if you have a specific question about it, that would be great to talk about too. So first off, just for everybody too, Intuit Enterprise Suite is Intuit's offering in the mid-market space. You might consider it lower mid-market to mid-market, anywhere in that range. It's perfect for companies that are, I would say, starting out around $3 million in revenue up to, say, $50 million in revenue. It can it has a pretty good span in terms of business sizes that it can help for. Um, it is also perfect for multi-entity organizations. So you can use it with one entity, and it's very, very robust and capable. But it's also very, very helpful if you have a business that has maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, or even 10, 15 entities where you can log in with one login and then very easily switch between entities. That's really, really cool. And then you can also do real-time consolidated reporting across those entities. So if you've got a property management business or a real estate investment business, and you've got a holding company, and then there's a service business, and then there's an operations arm, you could roll all that up into the one big sort of like umbrella organization for that consolidated reporting. It has just a lot of advanced capabilities, intercompany transfers, dimensional reporting is one of the biggest highlights, if you will, within Intuit Enterprise Suite. And for folks that don't know what dimensional reporting is, the way I always like to sort of explain it is in QuickBooks, you can do what is called class tracking, right? I can run a P&L by class. And that's usually one category. It could be like divisions, departments, or locations, and I want to see my P&L by location. Well, that's like one dimension, okay? But you can have up to 20 dimensions within Intuit Enterprise Suite. So let's say you wanted to see your sales not just broken down by one dimension, but you also wanted to see it by a certain product line or a certain location or residential versus commercial, but you also wanted to see it broken down by sales rep or just any other way of splicing and dicing the data. Intuit Enterprise Suite can handle that, and quite frankly, a whole lot more. There is a Solution for That is produced by VARC Solutions. This episode was produced by Ashley White and Aaron Riley. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Watch the video version on youtube.com/There's a Solution for That. Or visit varcsolutions.com/podcast, where you'll find our entire podcast archive, as well as show notes, links to solution providers, and complete transcripts of every episode. If you love the podcast, please leave a review with your comments.